is it not different from a news anchor because they read from teleprompters and yet they earn violent salaries? The difference is in their journalism degrees and the fact that the whole planet is watching them. But frankly, call center agents are just like newsreaders. They are reading from a teleprompter and very articulately speak to a client on the other side reading from a screen. It's a patronizing type of job, but I guess with news anchors, they also have to put in research into the news that they do research. To a certain extent, they are a lot more critical thinking than the call center agent, but rote, mundane, repetitive jobs like those are very unmotivating. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, for somebody working at the call center, because of the fact that they're unmotivating and because of the fact that they are as repetitive as they are and don't require that much critical thinking, too much skill, just repetitive, and so therefore over time you learn, they don't get paid much. But at MTN, I told you I have a call center agent that has that kind of a job that Archer paid his mortgage in 6 to 7 years because of bonuses that he got at the end of the year and stayed in that job for literally 10 years because it was just so lucrative that he figured, what's the point? They don't even pay me what they pay me at the call center. That's once good. Yeah. That was MTN. It was very similar in its structure, in its model, and how it operated to how the Lord God Almighty is going to run the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. They got something right at first. Maybe that's why God put me in that company at first. It was in order to help me work for the baddest company in the game, only for it to become the most putrid monstrosity that's going to pay me a cool 60 to 70 million in damages one day. Get it? It's happening. Anyway, whatever. So, seeing as MTN Nele Joalo, and I was working, what a wonderful world, oh yeah, in a company of that nature, water was put on that particular fire. Yeah, when I thought I was working for the baddest company in the game, when people had trickles of tears down their eyes on some better days, when I had a better time, there were employees that thoroughly did not think much of what it is that I was on the rooftops rapping on about. I was on the rooftops praising a certain structure, and these people really did not care less for how the company had essentially, according to them, fallen. They were no longer getting the same benefits, blah blah blah, but also there was a challenge that was nefarious on the ground. There was a nefarious challenge brewing on the ground, in that because the company was growing, they now were employing people from the outside, and individuals that had grown with the company, that had been made senior managers, general managers with only but a fraction of experience, whose salaries were too haughty and incomparable to the market. Yeah, these people, when then people like me started working for the company, like Abapume, sorry, in every night in my dream, I see you, I feel you. Those of us who came from Titanic type companies, like as in everything is sinking, my career is sinking, it's going on and on, yeah, far. What's our careers? Now that came from companies that were that gangster boring, like it was cancerous, the way that they were so incredibly metastatic on the prospects of our proliferation. There was so much bureaucracy. The younger you were, the rougher it became for them to take you seriously. And then when you were yet to graduate, it was like you didn't even study at all, anything. They did not have any regard for whatever subjects you might have already covered in school. Terrible. When you come from such companies and you're now working at MTN and you think it's great, yeah. Well, the staff that had been there growing with the company, getting taken to school and learning the ropes from inside a company that was very immature in its processes, when then they happened upon Karabo that come from the Titanic. Us like it, man. Beasts. Do you understand? Like proper monsters. It was like we came into the company on some, hello, I'm at MTN now just like you. Show me the ropes. What's going on? What's happening? And they looked at us on some, sure, we'll show you the ropes. And then they would show us the ropes. But then, somewhere along the way, upon them showing us the ropes, they came to learn that, yes, like it, man, this chick knows a lot more than me. This chick is a lot better than me. This chick is able to find holes that I can't find. I started in infancy with this baby, and all I know is this baby. I grew from being, like I had a senior manager boss lady who had started out as, and I can't remember what, but then she became a business analyst, and then she just grew, and then she was our senior manager, right? Yeah, she'd only ever been there. The previous company she was working for, I don't even know what it was. It was not even worth a mention. She essentially grew her entire company and her entire career at MTN. And when people like these made observations of the broad skills of people that come from the Titanic, yeah, thriller night, they went monstrous. They went monstrous on us. There were people coming from engineering companies that had worked within supply chains for BMW. There were people that came from banking who had worked within the very organized project management space of banking systems. There were people who came from IT companies, IBM. There were people who and now they were working for a company whose employees had only ever known this yellow building, and they've been getting really big bonuses. Their salaries are not market related, so they can't easily move. They can't go and gain these skills from outside, and they don't see the value of skills transfer coming from people who were in the Titanic, who are now in this much easier boat. They don't see the benefit of the fact that we are there for their benefit. We're there to upskill them. We were there to help them along. Because, understand, if you try and go for an interview at ABSA with this kind of fluffy understanding that you have, you're not going to give, right? But give me a year, and I will train you some things, and you can successfully interview at ABSA. And because of the level that you are at MTN at this young age, ABSA is not going to actually be playing games with you and try and hire you in the same level. They will give you a promotion. You will run an entire department. But I can be of benefit to you, like Papa. I have my thing that I can offer you over here. You might be my boss, but I do come from banking. I do come from processes. This is the only thing you've ever known. You've been growing up in a silo. You know what it's like. Right now, the Lord is giving me that as an analogy. I don't know if you've seen the show The 100. There are these people that cannot be exposed to radiation, and so they keep on using the blood of people who are used to radiation in order to sustain their lives. Like Papa. Slowly but surely get yourself accustomed to the air, and then you will be able to breathe outside. Do not steal my blood. It's like they looked at us like their sustenance. They were made to live in a bunker, growing up in a bunker, and so they can't go out and endure radiation. So upon wearing hazmat suits and going outside, they're actually going there to harvest the blood of people who can live. It is the bone marrow, right? The red blood cells or whatever, according to the narrative in the show The 100. They are going to go and harvest it from people, so they're going to keep them there as animals that they are actually using their blood for. A former legacy staff, essentially, at MTN started to become like blood harvesters of employees from outside, especially those of us who came from hard-knock Titanic industries like banking, where processes are very, very rigid, where you are used to procedure. It is actually similar to how it was when I moved from Mayfair Convent Primary School to Winchester Ridge Primary. Mayfair Convent was a private school with a very high standard of education, and we were already doing some pretty elaborate story sums when I moved to Winchester Ridge Primary in grade 5, such that my first ever test that I wrote for maths at Winchester Ridge Primary, I killed everybody in the class. I got something like 35 out of 40, while everybody was still getting 8, 7, 6, 5 out of 40, because they could not quite grasp concepts, but I'd already covered it in the previous year and some of the beginning of the initial year, the year that we are in grade 5, 7, 3. I was an advanced student in comparison to everybody else, because I came from a school with a much higher standard of education. And then my mom actually disappointed the living daylights out of my curious mind and put me in a lackluster, mediocre government school. It is what it is. I've ever since then grown my own fangs. I've ever since then grown my own feathers. And I've ever since then actually fluffed my own plumage. So I guess we compensated. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. So go MTN, it was like me moving from grade 5 Mayfair Convent to grade 5 Winchester. That's how it was. And people who aren't used to peacock feathers, when you fluff them, they will think that you are fronting, and you are basically there to coo them, take them over, overwhelm them with all of your juice and your fever. And so they will play dirty. They will be below the belt. They will be underaxy and table grabby. So because they're going to be that violently gangsterous, nobody's gonna grow, are they? So there was a spirit of moaning and groaning and lamentation essentially on the ground on the part of newer staff versus legacy staff. There was an unreasonable on the part of legacy staff and unreasonableness on the part of legacy staff. But one thing that legacy staff also had going down are granny old stories, right? The stories of what MTN used to be like. I could think of better days. That same senior manager, right, of mine, when they did a restructure a couple of years down the line, some kid that was my age got the promotion to be general manager. She was like 10 years older than me. Some kid that was my age, that Indian dude was my age. We were in Madrid together, except different schools. I know it. He got the promotion to be the general manager of the department that she applied to be a GM for. And that stuff like that did not go down well. And that kid came from outside. Just like I came from outside. We were killing it. I got promoted to program manager quickly after just 3 years of being a project manager. And legacy staff were looking at me awesome. I've been here gathering dust as a piece of furniture for 12 years. And then you rock up and in just 3 years, so it's something that I have to go and get a PMP at this or that in order to achieve. You're being trained on the job because you were reared in this bunker, okay? I've got broad experience from outside. I'm not trying to take you over. I am here to impart knowledge. Because you need our knowledge in order for you to be relevant out there. Because this company has low-key kind of set you up for failure because you grew up in it, okay? You don't know the rest of the world. So see this as an exchange. I give you skills. We scratch each other's backs. It's quid pro quo. But because I am more skilled than you and able to learn the ropes fast, that you teach me because of what it is that I grab from other places, take it in your stride that I'm gonna get a promotion faster now than you ever can. But also remember, you did grow like weeds in a way that makes you quite senior for your age, just in terms of the market. So my growth is basically my turn. You've had yours, and we're not trying to retract you back. We're not trying to make you walk back like Michael Jackson moonwalking. We're just trying to help you understand that it's my turn now. Yeah, so there were all these older legacy employees at MTN that were literally sabotaging the careers of younglings, youngsters, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed interns, whatever you might call them, people that work for other companies that then started working for MTN. When they saw the opportunities open for them to grow, like Pampara, the way that they wanted to before, but they felt stymied by the Titanic. That's what's good. Now that they saw these opportunities and grabbed them, these other people functioned as barriers to entry. My boss functioned as a barrier to entry, and that's the reason why it took 2 years instead of just 6 months or even a year to get back into project management. Because after all, at Kijima, I was a PM. I took a demotion in order for me to prove myself, and they dragged their feet and refused to let me become a PM until somebody else got a promotion and then gave me the promotion. I told you that story before, okay? Yeah, I would then ultimately get the carpet ripped from underneath my feet yet again by the same people who made an observation that I was growing like weeds, because first and foremost, I am really very intelligent, but not only that, I do come from, you know, the Titanic, and the Titanic they got training for days, dog. Like, the Titanic has training and skills that are beefy in comparison to a company whose what do you call this, procedures, are not on par. As a result of this crazy sabotage inside, like this inside bleed that was happening inside the company. We were 5 seconds away, at least as at the time of me not so much losing my job, but as at the time of me exiting the job of an administrator, because only when you're an administrator are you privy to such information as, we are not on par with processes, and so therefore we're going to get lambasted by fines, seeing as we are not sitting where we ought to be sitting in terms of the CMMI index. Stuff like that, you know, as an administrator, because that's your job, to basically check out such things, keep your ear on the ground. But when you're a project manager, you're only concerned, for instance, if you're actually trying to deliver a RECA project on the regulation pertaining RECA. If you are trying to transform based on new regulation by ICASA in a project, that's what you're concerned about, but not so much the whole regulatory body of what it is that governs your entire company. But when you are an administrator, you gotta have your ears on the ground for all of this, because that's what you're checking for. You're always doing health checks, you're always doing audit checks, oh, I'm back, right, okay, cool. So I knew a lot more about processes and what was lacking when I was an administrator, and as at the time of getting promoted out of that job, we were 5 seconds away from getting fined. But when I started working at MTN, we had the leg room of about 3 years, right, to get our act together, but it never ever came together because of all this inward bleeding, this infighting, this refusal to just let the strategy of the company to employ from outside in order to basically beef up our processes happen. Let it happen. Individual staff members were functioning as barriers to entry. They were essentially bleeding their own company from the inside out, just like much like what is happening right now with South Africa, or if you want to be really Lani, it's Mzansi. Alright? This which is happening with Mzansi, Afrique de suit with the French like twirl. Mzansi Afrique de suit is actually bleeding from inside. Like, it's literally bleeding from inside because of people that are legacy. Do you understand? That have been here since the very rudimentary stages. As a result, they've now got head honcho, big chunky jobs and are paying themselves handsome salaries. We are proud that they've done this thing. They were also taken from bus stations and taxi ranks. Struggle heroes. But now they're just like holding on like for dear life. Oh, goodness sake. Oh. Now they are out here holding on for dear life to their jobs at the expense of up-and-coming youth that are trained up in a broader spectrum of industries. and disciplines. In the age of the internet, so there's lots more information at their disposal, and they are a lot better able to also learn it because they're young, right? Their brains are like thriving, and they are literally functioning as barriers to entry to the youth because they're holding on to their crazy little ridiculous strengthy jobs. And then they claim that our unemployment rate is a qualm and a concern that they have. How can you have a qualm and a concern when you're the reason why the youth don't have jobs? Why 40 or is it 50% of them don't have jobs, or what? You don't want them working because they literally are sitting, consuming data, copious volumes of it in comparison to you from the internet that historically was only available at universities, able therefore to rock up with grander skills in corporate South Africa than you, already starting jobs like computer literate. Imagine this, like proper, there was a time when on an advert for a job, computer literacy was like a whole thing. Like isn't everybody computer literate by like 7 now? Yeah, but like back then it was a whole thing that people could actually walk into corporate and not know ASDF like proper, like a QWERTY keyboard yet, and you still had to go through the rounds of doing that in them. So therefore it was a whole requirement for people to go for computer literacy classes, go for like a whole 3-month course and just learning how a computer works, how to like copy paste from a Word document. Oh goodness, like whoa, like do they still do MS Word courses? I don't know, like maybe like Excel might be worth a while, but MS Word, I don't understand. Like Excel, like pivot tables, that's like a whole thing. But even then, isn't there like a whole automated sort of kind of like chat GPT version? I don't know. Listen, 2025 has just got so much more advanced technology such that these kids now are coming with skills that we needed to go for 6-month courses first before we could work in certain jobs, and now they're just easily doing it. They're highly proficient in multiple languages. They're highly proficient in internet languages. They also know a lot more because they are curious. Like kids generally are curious, but they're curious in an information age. So therefore, their curiosity is satiated by just copious volumes of information. The disadvantage, however, that they do have is the fact that there is a lot of misinformation, so they are also consuming a lot of jibber jabber, but consumption nonetheless, they are walking in it. So therefore the burden of fact-checking proof is on them. They have got to embark on the responsibility of vetting information that they consume on the internet or anywhere else where they can find it, in these free-flowing market of information streets, against what is truly true. They've got a responsibility to vet that. That is the downside that they're walking in. However, they do have far more volumes of information at their disposal, and knowledge is power, like quite literally. And information is the reason why the world goes around. Lack of information is the reason why things are innovated, right? Sometimes we go into entire industries just to create information. Knowledge is the driving force behind pretty much every big, fat, chunky, paradigm-shifting discovery that we have ever come to learn. So in an information age where knowledge is that much more readily available to human souls on the ground, and the ones who are consuming this information are the youth, you can imagine then what barriers to entry geriatrics and legacy randos are out here being to the youth that would literally within a mere matter of weeks slay them in their own job, insofar as you give them enough tools to learn this particular job. So I mean, of course you're going to keep them out of the market, right? You're going to keep them out of employment. The unemployment rate in this country of the youth, how unemployed they are, is not because there are no jobs. It's because geriatrics, senile, rando, legacy, hold on to jobs for dear life rap people don't want them in there. Because being a senior manager and executive, being a runner of an entire department, it is potentially true that some child could show you flames within just 7 months of learning enough ropes underneath you to run with one hand and a limp your whole department. We know that that is a fact because only look at really excellent content creators that have just gotten out of diapers. Look at how good they are at stewarding their YouTube channels and amassing for themselves the craft that they have amassed, and also the amount of knowledge they're able to impart, and with a level of proficiency, their level of video editing, how it is that they are able to do such great, excellent work from their own entrepreneurial space that is their YouTube channels. Well, if you go and you grab that content creator and you put them in corporate South Africa, you restrict their ability to motion themselves left and right as much as they want to spread themselves like butter on bread by the bureaucracy of a corporate 9-to-5, right? You restrict them to the department. You restrict them to marketing or accounting. You restrict them to finance. And so that is their challenge. That's their barrier to entry. And over and above that, in finance, is this like lackluster legacy boss guy that's going to insist that she does 5 years of time before she gets a promotion, when she's the one that can teach this boss guy or boss girl a thing or two, right? Yeah. And so she gets frustrated that way. And yet this same child or young adult when they go and they do their own thing, when they run their own little mini company as a side hustle, or when they start a content a channel, when they sell stuff on Etsy, on Amazon, when they make a decision to essentially embark on online streams of income or anything other than just the bureaucracy of a 9-to-5, okay? They do so well across multiple industries. Basically, marketing, they get that right. Finance, they get that right. Accounting, they get that right. What do you call this? Auditing, they get that right. Like, just checks and balances, they just get stuff right across an entire department, running a whole entire entrepreneurial organizations, earning so much more than they ever would have if they stayed in 9-to-5s, evidencing that if at all they had maintained themselves in 9-to-5 jobs, they would have slayed their bosses. And it's not like these bosses are ignorant to that, they know it. And so they're functioning as barriers to entry, and these barriers to entry are so exorbitant, so exquisite, and so nefarious while they're at it, that they are keeping people out from jobs altogether. So I mean, really, when you are maintaining youth in unemployment, and when you are grabbing skilled professionals and keeping them at home sitting like warm bodies in a bed, never mind a chair, like Karabo at the backs of their mother's houses gathering dust, when you are watching, saying bye-bye, au revoir, fly like a bird, oh Nelly Furtado, you wanna fly away, you don't know where you're so lazy. Everybody that's headed into the diaspora, people that are out working in other countries because they're sick and tired of the bureaucracy of South Africa, you are basically skills exiting from the country, exodusing. You are refusing to build skills in the youth, and you are also extracting skills from perfectly employable people that out here are not able to get jobs, and then you are saying goodbye without batting an eyelid, without stopping them, without saying don't stay. Rather you say goodbye my lover, goodbye my friend. People that end up in the diaspora with their skills bleed in the country, we're going to look kind of dumb. The economy is going to flounder faint. It's going to do a strange thing on the side of the street and therefore not be resuscitatable. It's got a DNR. And so with it having a DNR, the South African economy will then crash and burn with us getting no water for farmers, so it'll also starve. And so therefore, without food and without water, without, air, you die. This is not outer space. You're not a microorganism that can survive inside of the body without air. You're not a fishy that can survive in the water without air. You are a multicellular mammal that is terrestrial, living on a planet that you ought inhale and exhale in, eat, and then poop and pee at the end of each day. Clean yourself, that hygiene might make sure that you don't get pathogens coursing through your veins and then you die. You gotta do all that. In order to do that, you gotta maintain it by, frankly, filling the earth and occupying it, alright? You gotta maintain all that by filling the earth and occupying it, and you can't fill the earth and occupy it when nobody is willing to give you a job. The skills exodus on this country is literally on purpose. So too is the skills bleed as a result of perfectly skilled South African citizens like Karabo sitting at home unable to contribute to the economy. What are you doing? And then the absolute refusal to give skills to people that once they learn a job, they're gonna slay you because we care, Shandota. Move. Let the youth do their thing. That's why South Africa's out here perishing. And that's why God is going to give your country to little babies that are presently being born. As for the ones that are already here, they're going to fight and debilitate their nations. MTN is like South Africa. Breathing, it's not breathing, it's already dead. South Africa is like MTN. But we are yet to find the body, identify it, and then, finally put it to rest. Like, oh, this thing that's out here putrefying in the corner. Give me peace, I need closure. We don't yet have the closure that our country's dead, and that's the reason why we think it's alive. That's why we're still on a search party. That's why we're still out here walking outside at night with lanterns, trying to find our missing human. Oh, Shrile, they're dead. Okay, not Shrile, Utokafedzi. My grandmother used to like saying, Matohashri wa Tokafala, have some respect. Yeah, okay, Utokafedzi. And it's not coming back. No, it's not happening. They're not Lazarus. They don't come forth. So for those reasons, I just feel as if the sooner we can get closure, the better. But I'm out here trying to put the horse before the cart. People are going to have hope that a dead thing is still going to come back home. It's not, and I know that. So I'm just saying au revoir, goodbye, peace in the Middle East, except it's not going to happen until Jesus returns, so forget it. Yeah, I'm just leaving. I've already had a memorial service and I've already buried them deep in my heart. They're not coming back. They're not coming back. But you are going to look for her in a search party and you're going to waste resources, big, fat, chunky resources, looking for a dead lady, and then you're going to waste more and more resources looking for, trying to identify who it is, by scouring dentist networks for dental records and DNA, eyelash, blah, 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 blah. I was like, I told you, if you go to the cemetery, you're going to find my little stand over there where I already did a little memorial service, prayed over it, trickled a tear down, then there was a blade of grass that grew from my tear, and then I left and I moved to the US, and only once I moved to the US did you catch up with the fact that your dead body is already at the cemetery. It's called South Africa. It's dead. It's dead. Why are you looking at me like I'm some stranger? Of course you're not even looking at me because you have, again, barrier to entry. I might as well be in the diaspora. Go talk a Mona, just deal. It's over. You have not awarded justice to the righteous, and so the country's dead. People are holding on to the youth, and they won't let them do what the youth do. Because you know that they're going to catch up with you and leave you behind with your tail end self. You know, you won't let these guys, you know, when you come to Jesus Christ, let me tell you a thing or two, Let me go and advise you people. Listen to me, I'm listenable. Don't act like you can't hear me. You are disturbing. You are disgusting you. But anyway, I imagine you won't sit here and listen. Jesus Christ give us eternal life, guys. We're going to live for eternity one day. We are going to be forever 20. Understand that? Or maybe 35, depending on what you think is an amazing age to be. Never gonna age again. No more grey hair. No more crow's feet. No more smile lines. No more cavity in the teeth. You are always going to be beautiful. Forever and ever. When you've got that kind of perspective, you are not going to frazzle yourself over getting older and a young person or you're taking over your entire department. Move on to the next one, Let the new child do a new thing, Let the children go and breathe, Why are you going to go and suffocate children with your whole big belly? Sitting around in corporate in one job or no refuse to give child promotion. Let them go and run your department because you are tired, You are coughing out blood, You are gargling blood, You are about to build your life on the side of the street, so let the child take it over. They've got energy. You've got knee problem. You go up the stairs and your already are very tight. It's only been 4 staircases that you've been up. This child can go run up and down on your behalf. Let them run. Let the child run, no. But you won't let the child run, no. Why? Because you are holding on to the arts. You are running on to, you are holding on to the planet. That's you. You are telling yourself that when I pass away, this is it. So I've got to have street name after me. I've got to go and build mountain on top of mountain. I've got to go and build Kilimanjaro on top of Mount Everest because I've got to do a beautiful feat on the planet. I've got to go and do whatever I can on the planet because after all, when I pass away, I won't have any more time to do any such thing of this nature. But I'm telling you, brother, this planet, one day Jesus is going to go roll it up like a scroll, going to flee from his sight, and then death and Hades going to go and spit you outside because you're never going to go love him, because the dead that are going to be in the sea are going to be spat out by death and Hades, and then Jesus is going to judge you. The planet that is at, that you are holding on to, where you want to go have a big plaque saying that this name, the street is named after me, nowhere to be found, You're going to be able to put your feet down on it, It's going to be gone, no. Jesus is going to say, okay, your planet is gone now, what you got left? What you have left, brother, what you got left, sister? Nothing, no. So what you need to do is overcome the fact that the planet is here, it's fleeting, it's here today, gone tomorrow. Hold on to that which is eternal. Jesus says you are a foolish man when wealthy you go and you store for yourself bands on the planet. Brother, do this one thing, Store for yourself treasure in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and thief don't come in and steal. So what you need to go, brother, do? What you need to go and do, sister, is ascertain that your treasure is in heaven. No, you won't build yourself a mountain. There, you won't go build yourself Kilimanjaro on top of Mount Everest. There, because there is going to be everlasting mountain. But here on the planet, it's fleeing from you, It's going to flee from the sight of Jesus. You're going to be wobbly-legged, scared in front of him, wondering, as a wax figurine in front of the blazing inferno of Jesus Christ. Why did I not go and love the Messiah? Because here it is now that the planet on which I had a street named after me. It's gone now, and now I can't have it. All my works have been burned by the fire. They've been burned, it's gone. But you are holding on to it. You see, when you've got an eternal perspective, brother, let me tell you something. When you've got an eternal perspective, you're going to let the little child go and do a child thing, Let the brother go up and down the stairs of your company, run it, Seeing as you are tired, now you are geriatric. Brother man, you are exhausted. Sit down, no. Twirl on your chair and drink your whiskey, but leave the baby to go and run your company. Because if you are holding on to a youth, you are going to lose it. Even the Bible says that whatever it is that you have, let it go for the sake of the kingdom of God. Otherwise, you're going to lose it, brother. So when you are holding on to opportunity from children, you are ascertaining that you are going to insist on staying young like Botox, even though you are getting old anyway. You know how Botox may be making the young woman that is Gen Z look older than millennial, but they've got Botox. It is killing them faster than it is making them younger because they are holding on to a planet that is fleeing. I'm going to tell you about an eternal Botox. His name is Jesus, so it will give you youth forever. No more you get smile lines, frown lines, no crow's feet, nothing, no. Top of that, you're going to be able to go up and down staircase without falling apart despite 1,000 years progressing. If at all you've got eternal perspective, brother and sister, you will let the little children be. You will let the Gen Alpha go and be more beautiful than you while your skin is drooping. Because you recognize that eventually you're going to get your skin back home. It's called the resurrection, eh? We're going to go in the rapture with beautiful incorruptible body, yo. On that day, yo, no longer are you going to look different from your Gen Alpha baby. You're going to be the same thing, brother. So just let the baby go and run company because right now you are tired. You're going to get stroke just trying to go up the staircase at the same pace, eh? Baby going to go and overcome you. Just let the little child do what the little child must do so your country can grow. But that's you, holding on despite the fact that your knees are very sore. Every time you stand up, you go out show. But a baby, they can go and do the job 10 times faster without having out show. You are blocking them from starting a job. Go away then. Go and pass away with the planet that you're holding on to. It's not going to do anything for you, brother. Get an internal perspective. It'll enable you to let the kids be, yo. Because proper, your time has come and gone. You were born in 84. Your time has come and gone. You were born in 61. Your time has come and gone. You were born in 22. You're a baby boomer. You're on the way to the grave and you're still holding on to jealousy against the youth. You're not going to win. The clock that is time is going to out you, ransack you, lambaste you, mortify you. You're going to look in the mirror. You're going to look worse today than you did yesterday. You're going to notice stuff that wasn't there just the day before. You're going to crack more gray hairs and you are going to dye all of them in one fell swoop because you are going to imagine that you can turn back the hands of time like R. Kelly insofar as you can see enough doctors. Look at how plastic surgery makes these celebrities look much older than they actually truly are and they look like caricatures of themselves. Yeah, saying, yeah, wait on Jesus or to go and give you rhinoplasty. He'll be the one to go and do facelift, but you don't wait on the king. Because you don't wait on the king, you go and you give grief to baby. Your baby is going to overwhelm you anyway. You can't win. If you are 45, if you are 80, you are not going to win against a 27-year-old. Forget it. So why are you fighting? Let it go. Take the path of least resistance. Let the babies run the show because they are living in the information age. They know more than you, brother. But nah, you wanna be the hold held onto as boss Ele. Hlongwane. Now ukadile wanna to burn the midnight oil. Now she's working for the company and you won't let her breathe? You like that hard knock corset around her waist? You won't let the sister breathe? Do you? Do you? But understand, in so withholding opportunities from the youth, you are killing the country. I was youth at some point. I'm now a middle-aged woman. At the age of 29, when I was soaring like a bird in my career, they pulled the rug from underneath my feet until I was old. And now they're doing the same thing to the youth. Yeah, moshwa, akuna, I'm at jobs. I was gonna build a business where I was gonna go and grab the little kids from call centers and put them in jobs that make sense, train them up, and then take them to school because it was cheap labor. Easier and cheaper to hire them and train them up in project management and trust them to run, hitting the ground running instead of some rando PM ideas, PM Berkeley, Prince Tuli, everything PMP about long charge 100,000 rands per month as a salary. A business when I can just go and grab a child, do you understand? Fresh out of university, my skills, and pay them a modest salary to do the job of somebody or quotang. I get to be who lets the same job. Seeing as I'm starting an organization, and then I would be the one to take that kid through PM ideas. I would be the one to take that kid through PMP. I would be the one to take that kid through all the things that they need to go MBA, kita mo patala yon, Mara, in exchange for me paying for all of his education, no. He go and he give me perfectly viable skill for close to nothing, no. Standing on zero. Can do the same job, oh. I have done it without PMP, without qualification, without degree, killed it, run an entire company-wide program for cheap on my project management salary. On my project management salary for cheap, they hired me and I did umsebenzi that was supposed to earn me a cool 100,000 rands per month. Somebody that was quoting that much for MTN was passed up in favor of me. Nabang patala salary, that's not even that much. Do you understand? Yeah, bang patala a monthly salary of, several tens of thousands per month. Ke poreile nje fela ntse ke ja matokomane ka salary ka every single month mara ke tsa mosebetsi wa motho o nang le di-qualifications tse di kana tse di pasa. Yeah, They saw an opportunity that way. It's a good working model. You give people opportunities, you give them skills, you pay for their fees, and in exchange, you have cheap labor. You have cheap-ish labor because you still have to take them to school. By the time they become expensive labor, by the time they are the ones that go and they quote a company a cool million for a contract of 4 months, they've gone through your company where you only pay them 30,000 rands a month. They're a super duper califragilisticexpialidocious, highly skilled individual, however, doing umsebenzi. However, with you paying a fraction of the price for it, it's a good business model. MTN was like that in the beginning, and that's frankly how God is. He calls you from your mama womb, hey? Knits you together all up in that joint, calls you Jeremiah as a prophet unto the nations, what's that sitting next, and then teaches you everything you need so you will go out there and do the J-O-B, a very big fat chunky J-O-B, like the job of Moses. Calls you from inside your mama womb to create an exodus, like a whole relocation project of an entire people out of a country. I mean, I implore you, look at what happened in the Ukraine after Vladimir Putin raided all up in that joint. How rough it was to get some of those Ukrainians across borders to Poland, etc. A million, logistical nightmares. And still to this day, some of them can't even get across the border. They can't go. And yet Moses went and grabbed like a whole chunky hundreds of thousands of people. How many of them were there? I stand corrected. And in just a couple of days, just by simply just leaning on the Lord, plaguing the living death out of Egypt, they traipsed with their mere bienes, okay, to the Red Sea. It got split, and they walked in there, twirled around for like 40 years, and then ended up in Canaan. When the Lord gives you that kind of a logistical project, only but a mere child that stutters like Moses, you know that the Lord is smart. Then on that day, right, he is wise. He's all wise. He's all knowing. He went and grabbed someone that don't know jack and made them do that kind of relocation project over an entire nation. And now today Israel is chilling again back in Canaan, now called Israel. It's sitting again in that sliver in the Middle East. And there's a whole bunch of projects embarked on across the planet in Aliyah to send them back to their motherland. That's what's good. Or in this instance, their fatherland. Yeah, they are being recovered to their land because of all these wars happening all over the show. And now they're a cup of trembling, a very heavy stone for all the peoples. All who will heave it away will surely be cut into pieces. Not only that, they've got the most Nobel Prizes won on the earth out of any nation on planet. They're so gifted that they've got the most number of Nobel Prizes won among them as a nation. Be it Nobel Prize for Science, be it Nobel Prize for Peace, be it whatever, they've got the most number in Israel. That's what God did with people that were moved through one dude, Moses. God knows how to raise up a Moses, a guy that stutters. Yeah. So Karabo was planning on embarking on a godly strategy to hire people that are just stutter, and make them do an exodus. Yeah, I was gonna do that. I was gonna take unassuming children, do you understand? Basically with like pacifiers in their mouths, and make them beastly professionals for a fraction of the price, train them up, give them education, and then send them out to go and quote companies a cool million just to be there to assess a situation. I was gonna do that. Now that's true black economic empowerment, just in case you were wondering. It's not out here insisting on grabbing black kids and forcibly employing them because that's what the government says. It's out here grabbing black kids that have nothing, that are sitting in the gassy gathering dust, that will never be given opportunities, and then teaching them how to do a project management job. I kid you not, it's not hard. It is not hard to be a BA, a product manager. It could be a little bit rough to be a coder. There are some jobs where you gotta study, okay? Like being an engineer or whatever. But certain jobs, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Show them the ropes, make them shadow somebody. And in a matter of weeks, this person is already running projects. Ingati, they've been doing it for 5 years. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. And yet there are people literally trying to act like, for instance, Karabo, who has got project management experience. Like, I'm rusted, relax, Blom. It's just project management. What are you doing? It's not sine, cos, and tan. It's not financial mathematics. It's not calculus. It's project management. It's a glorified babysitter over departments that are feeding into something you all are trying to do. That's what a project manager is. It's literally a glorified au pair. Everybody can do that. Literally everyone. To be a good business analyst, you need to know how to listen, read and write, and ask a lot of questions from people who are building systems. And they will verbatim, like proper, they will literally spell it out for you with blocks and cues and Ruby, like, and abacuses right next to Jenga blocks. What to put in your business analysis bullet points as to what the business requires. You don't need to have some elaborate IT degree. You just need to know how to listen to developers. And you can be a really good BA. That's all it takes. So, I mean, BM Bok, BA Bok, I'll take you to school to study BA Bok. I'll take you to school to study BA Bok. If anything, my former boss was a business analyst. I said, you're on a BA Bok thing. And she did not know how to be a business analyst, but she had to go and gather insights from the organization. She had to, from stakeholders, and put together some kind of a business plan. And so, sucking it out of her thumb, her fingers, her index finger, she was able then, eventually somewhere along the way, somewhere over the rainbow, to have something feasible enough for coders to run with, and so therefore build systems. And look at MTN, it was a prepaid giant in that time. Now today I get it in neck and neck, everybody's kind of like, what is the word that I'm looking for? Saturated, the market is saturated, everybody's got like 10 SIM cards now. Look at me with like 1 million phones in one sitting. The telco industry is saturated, but there's so many other things that can be done. But before then, everybody had 1 SIM card and we're trying to get like, I don't know, more. And what have you. And so if at all MTN was able to grow from infancy like that, with my boss being a business analyst that did not have a business analysis training, do you understand what I'm saying? You can start a business with total novices that are looking awe-inspired and in wonderment, asking themselves, what be this awesome, gargantuan, monolithic structure that calleth itself an office building? What shall I do in it? Where is its bathroom? And come out of there as seasoned professionals. You're lamenting about the skills exodus in the country. Well, it's very easy to rebuild those skills. It's just that you refuse to knowledge transfer. It's easy to build skills. It's not rocket science. That's why kids from grade 0 to matric can study same things we studied long ago. It's not rocket science. It's just that you refuse to give these people skills. These kids skills. You are keeping them unemployed. You're putting them in call centers with entire degrees, with entire BCom accounting degrees, and they're sitting in a call center. Suga. Rubbish nonsense. Anyone that I should be employing, putting like proper a warm body in a chair, a graduate in a call center, it's just irresponsible. Irresponsible. And it's happening across South Africa in a like proper, just prolifically. It's like a metastasizing bacteria, like a necrotizing fasciitis. And absent of somebody amputating this nasty, gangrenous, cantankerously loud, spreading cancer, ain't nobody gonna live. But then again, you are already dead, so yeah. You're already dead, guys. It's giving, it's coded. It's giving DNR, nitrogen mask, suicide pod, Switzerland, Sweden. It's giving, take it over, cause I guess now everybody must get their affairs in order. It's giving, I need, what do they call those guys that are gonna sign on your behalf now that you're dead? Yeah, it's giving that. So again, like a last will and testament in retrospect, seeing as the dead body is already just putrid with gases oozing from it in the wilderness, but somebody's yet to find it, so that's like a thing. South Africa's dead, yeah, it's dead. It's not even on its way out. This can't be resuscitated. It has to be resurrected by a civil war. I've been saying it for a minute. The mama's not going to be found until scavengers have ravaged that corpse. And they're not going to be identified. But for dental records or some laborious process of proving in the general geographical location where they passed away that it must be them, because we found their phone, we found their hair follicle, we found their tooth, we found there, so it must be her. You are yet to find the body, so the administrative nightmare of finally getting it in the ground. That's what you're on right now, South Africa. You think you can resuscitate this, you think you can start YouTube channels and lament, you think you can this, you think you can that. You're like a dead body in the wilderness. It's dead, but you don't know yet. But guess who does know? Those who are closest to them. Because as the years progress, it becomes clearer and clearer that this person is not coming home. MTN, the staff that were there in the beginning stages, were able to sing praises of the company. It was already dying when it was there, but I didn't know. Well, not as a South African citizen. I'm old enough, I'm a millennial, and even then one of those geriatric millennials who are closer to being a Gen X. I'm an exennial, so therefore I have been here in the beginning stages of this country's demise. I was like, I'm the tantamount of like that dude who in the call center was getting hundreds of thousands of rands in bonuses. I remember a much better time in the country. I remember when it was a wonderful space to be in. And so when other people rocked up and thought that this country was great, I was like, you ain't seen the best part of it, yo. You ain't. And even as the newbies that rock up in an ecosystem, you're able to make observations that people are actively functioning as barriers to entry to the youth. And to people with more knowledge, and so the company is imploding from within. MTN was that great organization, but staff members that came from outside, like Stand Up, etc., like all these others that were brought in that were bringing in skills to try and train up the legacy staff. These guys, these employees of MTN, the new ones were me, people like me. We were always talking, about how, yes, like our company's corrupt. There were all these stories in the media especially the OPCOs, the operating companies, the ones in Africa, all across Africa. They were so corrupt. There were all these stories just doing their rounds, like MTN was in the news every week for random stuff. People were getting arrested. It was nasty. And then never mind the corruption, all the scandals doing the rounds in the streets. There were lamentations on the inside by staff about how things are going. They were already brewing, churning, things in the rumor mill, essentially doing their rounds about the fact that HR at MTN is not really human resources management on behalf of staff, but it is management of human resources. So it's not human resources for staff, it's management's management of human resources. So an intermediating body of individuals whose core priority was to be impartial in organizations and be a mediating force between staff and employers started to work for staff, for management, to manage staff. They became like a handler for us, as opposed to a place that you could go to in order to get your matter eradicated. So what then happened, because of human resource bias towards management, they were used as a rod of punishment on staff, as opposed to a mediating force. I would know, because I literally lost my job because HR became a rod on my back to handle me for stuff. They were not neutral. They were not mediators. They were advocates for management against me. What the heck? Despite the exculpatory evidence heaped up to the heavens in favor of my case, they inculpated themselves with their infringements of corporate governance, and yet I'm the one that lost a career, never mind just that job. Right? Because of this crazy phenomenon, there then rose up these little gnarly bits of annoying rando factions inside the organizations called unions. People decided that we can't trust HR because what in the world, dream on? And our Labor Relations Act put it out there in their legislation that you get to start a union, babies, because if for any reason at all HR is unreliable, you can have a little caucus of people on the inside that are essentially like student representative councils, but for corporate inside your companies. And they then made a decision to start bribing bodies like the CCMA to deal even with people that come through unions. What the heck? Like, if you fire a person for starting a union in a company, they not only do qualify for damages under the Labor Relations Act of the CCMA, but they can get up to 2 years' salary because that is considered gross misconduct. And I was fired for essentially standing against HR's indiscretions as well, and I didn't even get that leeway, that legroom. Nobody cared to acknowledge the fact that I essentially got fired for low-key starting what would be the tantamount or the equivalent of a union, or in my own right, I was lamenting against the indiscretions of HR, who were not neutral, they were not mediating, they were not impartial. They were certainly advocates and only put off management and only pushing their machine to finality. They were finishing me off using an official regulatory body pertaining staff matters. It was ridiculous, okay? So I just screamed on a rooftop, yelled like a baby, with my epiglottis swinging left to right like a pendulum. And they made a decision that, like a baby, they're going to put a pacifier in my mouth called blacklisting. I have been literally blacklisted. My story is long, it's lengthy, it twirls around a tree like a snake. I lost everything to a point of the South African deep state, if you will, blacklisting me from ever working again. So 10 years down the line from that initial horrific, gloomy Tuesday, I'm still unemployed and it appears unemployable. Apparently my skills are not sellable. Apparently I can no longer be resuscitated from the ground. Allegedly I am as good as, never mind a matriculant, but someone that's just popped out of her mama's womb and is yet to learn ABC 1, 2, 3. The way I'm such an apparent invalid in terms of the South African economy, it's where I gotta go. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that's what's good, that's what's happening up in this monstrous joint. So with that being a thing, and with me having lost a whole career for essentially tantamount to starting a union, I was supposed to, by the law of this country, get minimum 1 year's payment in damages, maximum 2 years. Because of that, because of MTN's gross misconduct, but they try to give me 3 months salary. I fought it, clearly won according to the audio tape, and yet strangely lost according to the document before me that I gaze upon, where allegedly I resigned, even though you've given me a letter of dismissal. And so I wasn't able to get UIF, but according to Investec, I was dismissed. So I wasn't able to get my shares. Look at South Africa be literally dead. And yet you are just still hopeful that your search party is going to locate her. Dream on. She's dead. Your unfortunate mama not coming back, baby. You're an orphan now. I'm sorry. It's just a soft story. You're not coming back. Hi, boy. You're an orphan. Life as you know it is different. It's never going to be the same again. You're no longer a happy-go-lucky child. You are now an orphan. So, deal. But you're not recovering. This is this nation. They messed up with employees that lament because they can. And then they also messed up with employees that can build the company, help it grow from strength to strength, also in honesty. They got rid of them because my job, my situation, my circumstance, my MTN, my chair, my papers, my paper clips, my glue, my print, and my coffee machine. My startup company, even though now it is totally public, and it's owned by shareholders, but it's mine. For real. Sorry then. Okay. I'm not trying to step on anybody's mine toes. Bye. It's yours, I get it. Keep it. My company. Keep it. Except the one who's saying my company, you're but one mere employee in it, actively sabotaging South African people for economic benefit. And then after you sabotage them, oh black conglomerate, you decide to go and take the farmland of white people and then withhold water from their farms, claiming in your lackluster, stupendous demeanor, that they're the reason why your company is choking. You're the one that won't give black youth jobs. It's not the white farmer. You're the one that won't enable black professionals to grow because you're hoarding your senior manager chair. You're twirling on it even though you are now officially obese. So people gotta literally wheel you out of there because you're like a contestant on my 500-pound life. People just gotta rock up at your chair to feed you, and soon enough you're gonna pass away from cardiac arrest. But you're gonna die literally hoarding the job that belongs to a 30-year-old employee that has been sitting in a dumb job for much too long, and they're much better at your job than you because it's your company. Yeah, look at you go. Cray, right? Totally. It's insane. Insane. What's going on? South Africa's like MTN. It started out alright, and then it started sabotaging employees, and then it started walking in corruption. Legacy staff latched on to their jobs for dear life. I was so sabotaged by legacy staff that they even bewitched me out of a job. And then when I fought for myself, they blacklisted me from South Africa altogether. And now that I'm leaving, they're like, my human, my citizen. Now South Africans are like, my person, my South African resident. You kicked me out of the country, you idiot. But I'm your South African. I'm moving. I'm leaving. My black lady. Shut up, black men. You're the ones that treated me like trash, okay? My human being. I belong to no one but Jesus Christ. I used to be yours, but I don't know. It's giving emancipation. I'm done. I'm totally done. Okay? This country's bleeding out. It's breathing its last. The right people are not being awarded opportunities. The right people are not being given an ability to do what they ought to do. And people who have displayed time and time again that they're really good at what they do, you have maintained that they can't do it because there's somebody better that you have already earmarked from listen to this 30 years ago. Okay? This country, this new democracy commenced about that long ago. And there are people that you placed in presidency, you placed in government, you placed in corporates, and you looked at them as they're going to flip the model, they're going to do better. And then they dropped the ball, they took cocaine, they even coded on the table. And then you still insisted that the people who displayed that they can better run your country, you still insisted that those people are not the right ones for the job. And you ignored them for literally so long that they became middle-aged women and men. A scenario of that nature is unfolding. Mojarateng, my older sister, was the star kid, I bet you can tell. I was the one that was just super annoying. What are you doing? Gathering dust. Teachers are perpetually lamenting about, what is that thing over there? Oh, it's a child. Oh, what is it doing? It's gathering dust. And then I got to grade 9. And they said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of just merely gliding through school. I'm going to study. So I became an academic. That wasn't enough for my mom. And then a matriculator, went to university, started doing well, really well over there, and that still wasn't enough for her because she didn't even pay my fees. I ended up having to drop out after second year. Took myself to school, that wasn't enough. I was killing it even in that state. My lecturers loved me, but no, not my mom. And then in corporate South Africa, I was actually killing it, kicking it, growing up the corporate ladder without a degree, without a qualification, but I was getting it. And I had such a strong career that some people started to notice that, oh my goodness, Karabo, she's actually really good. I thought she was kind of whatever, but hey, it turns out that she's actually something to write home about. Yeah, people started to notice that I was worthwhile, and that was still not enough for my parents. I then had the carpet ripped from underneath my feet by the sibling that now was dropping the ball. She was Amy Winehouse.